Hello, hello, everyone. Welcome to the Ella Swanson Show. I am so excited tonight. We're going to have a little fun, right? Tomorrow's Valentine's Day. I have my friend here, Brian Bethia. Of course, joining us will be Malcolm and Nichole a little bit later on in the broadcast. But tonight we're going to have some fun because we're going to help marriages stay together, right? Tonight, Brian?
Absolutely.
We're going to try. Listen, some of you want your marriage to stay together, and some of you might be listening to find out how to get out of it. I don't know. That's between you and God. But tonight on the broadcast, the title of our show tonight is Giving Myself to Love and Marriage. Listen, right now, according to research, at least 50% marriages, they say, will end in divorce. Now, they're basing that on statistics, of course. However, that's not what God said. Marriages are put together to stay together, right, Brian? So
Absolutely.
that's what we're going to do tonight on the broadcast. So if you're married, this show is for you. If you're single, this show is also for you because everybody can learn something from this broadcast. I'm single, I'm divorced. I am definitely looking forward to the information that Brian and Malcolm and Nichole will share with us tonight. So you should be too. So listen, tell everyone that the Ella Johnson show is on. I'm going to take a very, very quick break here so that you can share the broadcast. If you're on Facebook, if you're on YouTube, whichever the case may be, LinkedIn, wherever you're watching the broadcast, please do me a favor and just share the broadcast. It's going to be a great one tonight. They're going to give us some good tips. I'm looking forward to it. So after this break, we'll be right back for some good love notes and tips from our married couples right here on the Ella Johnson Show. All right, guys, don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. It's time for the Ella Johnson Show. I'm so excited that you've taken time out to tune in to the Ella Johnson Show. I hope you enjoy the broadcast. So sit back, relax, and I'll see you at the end of the show. One day someone asked me, Ella, why do you do talk shows? Like, why is this so important to you? I said, because I want people to know that God does use us. Because sometimes things don't happen to you. They happen through you. And now it's time for the Ella Johnson Show, where we set the table for real talk conversations. So stay tuned. It's all coming up next. The Ella Johnson Show. All right, guys, we're back. We're back. Listen, thank you all again so much for tuning in to the Ella Johnson Show tonight. Tonight, the title of our broadcast is Giving Myself to Love and Marriage. Tomorrow's Valentine's Day. And some of you have already rushed out to the stores and bought that gift and the flowers. But all of that is good for one day. But what do we do 364 days? The other 364 days, right? How do we treat one another? Are we kind? Are we loving? Are we romantic? Have we been together so long that we've forgotten that other person has needs? Well, listen, we're going to uncover all of that tonight. But first, I want you guys to meet my guest, Brian Bethia. Brian, why don't you tell everyone who you are? And of course, you need to start out with who your beautiful wife is. Yes.
Of course, my name is, of course, Brian T. Bethia, as you see on the screen. I am a spoken word poet / actor and host of the Writer's Block Open Mic that I will be soon, hopefully praying to God, bringing back as soon as I get the right venue. So if you're ever in the Orlando area and you're a poet or just a performer and want to come down to rock one of Orlando's favorite open mics, definitely come to mind. And of course, I am married to my lovely wife, Alicia, who has been the hugest blessing to my life. We've been married more than 4.5 years. And, so I definitely have to shout her out. She got me ready with my lighting for tonight's broadcast. So definitely got to give her a shout out that way. And she definitely always has my best interest at hand. I'm so grateful to God, and I thank God every day for blessing me with one of his daughters. So that's me in a nutshell. And again, acting. You can see me in a few stuff online on YouTube, such as a TV show called Daddy We're Back. And as well as some other things, you can also find me on YouTube doing some poetry. So I'm just grateful to be here.
Well, I'm so glad that you're here, Brian. You're like an old timer, the Ella Johnson Show. You're a regular, if you will. And like I was telling him, I always seek him and his wife, as well as Malcolm and Nichole, whenever we have a relationship show, because they have such rich advice for people who are in relationships. Because sometimes I know growing up, we didn't have that wholesomeness that we could actually talk about everything. And in this day and age, we have access to so much, right, Brian? So if there's anything that you really want to know, it's out there on the internet. So you said that you and your wife have been together 4 years. That's amazing. I remember when you guys were actually dating.
Like, yes.
I remember that because she wouldn't give him any, y'all. I know that's a little TMI, but this is the real talk TV, right? But she did, and I was and I'm gonna be honest with you, out of everything, other than how nice and beautiful she is, that's the one thing I remember the most because I didn't do that. I'm just gonna be honest. But I admired her for being able to withhold herself, as tempting as it probably was. So there are people that are watching this broadcast that are doing that also. So kudos to you guys. Everybody isn't able, okay? But I know that was difficult. What was the one thing about Alicia that caught your eye, Brian?
It was really her. Well, of course, she's naturally beauty, of course. So
yeah,
of course that was easy. But it was really, for the most part, her spirit, and there was just something about her that I just was really, really attracted to. And I kind of have a new saying now that for those people that want to be in relationships, and I'm saying this because this is what happened with me in regards for her. And I like to say that when you want to fall in love with somebody, fall in love with someone who you feel whose spirits God specifically designed just for you. And that's what I felt like with her, when I felt like I could kind of feel like we were about to maybe start dating, because I had known her for a couple of, several years before we even started dating. And, sometimes it's just that one awkward walk down your mutual friend's driveway at a party. And all of a sudden you can just feel the same.
Yeah.
Something is, my spirit
something was
likes
right.
her.
Yeah.
Yeah, something feels right. So
I feel like that's beautiful though, because Brian, before you got to her, you had to say no to some before her, right? And I think that's the part where it's difficult, because we think that Alicia isn't going to come, so we deal with the person that's there, even though we know they don't align with our values and all of that kind of stuff. So kudos to you guys. Kids yet in the works?
No. With the ones I had prior to the ones that I had before we got together. So but unfortunately, no, we won't be having children together.
Okay, but that's all right. You can just love on the ones that are there. I know that you're a beautiful couple, and I'm so honored that you decided and agreed to come on the Ella Johnson Show to help all us other folks out, right? Any special plans for Thanksgiving? I mean, Valentine's Day?
No, this we got so many responsibilities right now in terms of
Yeah.
You know, my
Sure.
son has a track meet this weekend. I have to work both tomorrow and Saturday, and then we have a family member and aunt on her side that is having a birthday dinner on Sunday.
Yeah.
So we're gonna send that off for another day. You know, we still have to celebrate
It's
her
every
birthday the
day.
way. Yeah,
Oh, when is her
we started
birthday?
celebrating. Her birthday was last month in
Oh, happy
January.
belated.
There's something specific she wants to do, and she wanted to hold off on doing that until we had both had time. So that's probably how we'll celebrate, you know, loving each other and what have you.
So, guys, Malcolm and Nichole, they are here, but I'm waiting on them to get situated, and then they're going to join the broadcast. I'm so excited. I'm so excited to get these tips on love and marriage tonight because, listen, I'm single, and this day we're okay. I see them there. Let's bring them on. Yay!
Hey,
To,
hey,
to the
Brian.
married couple. Yes. How are you guys?
Good.
We're doing wonderful. Trying to make it.
Wow. I love your shirt. Y'all, I can't look at that and just not make a comment. I'm unrealistic. Faith made me this way. What?
That's
I
right.
love it.
Right.
That's right. I love it because we talk about faith all the time
Right.
on the Ella Johnson show. So welcome you guys, Malcolm and Nichole.
Thank
Hey.
Yay!
you. Thank
I
Good to
want
be
you
here.
guys to introduce yourselves to our audience. Who are you? Where you're from? How long you guys been together? Just give us some basics.
All right.
you. Okay. Do you want me to lead or you?
Well, I'll tell. Hey guys, I'm Malcolm,
And I'm Nichole.
yes, we have been married for 27 years.
Ooh.
This year,
Mhm.
in July 5th, will be 27 years.
Yeah.
And we actually dated for 3 years before that. So we
Mhm.
live and reside in Huntsville, Alabama.
That's right.
That's the northernmost city, or almost, in Alabama before you get to the Tennessee line. And we're educators in ministry and
Ooh.
the counseling field. We just do a whole lot of different
Yeah.
things, and it really evolves and involves people.
Yes.
Oh, I like that. Evolves and involves. Ooh, that's a book.
There
That's
you
a
go.
book.
There
You
you
know,
go.
you always have these nuggets, Malcolm, and you just it's like when somebody pass gas and you don't really smell
Come
it
on
till it's
now.
like over there, right?
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, that's the first thing I can come with, Brian. I'm sorry. You know how it is. Listen,
It's a
I'm
good one.
so excited. I'm so excited that you guys joined the broadcast tonight to share what got you guys here. Because there are a lot of people out here. Hello, myself, we're single, still out here in these streets. And but you know, the way we approach dating is has to be different. It has to evolve and it has to involve God more.
Right.
So we're looking forward to you guys share. Tell everybody how you guys met.
Ooh. How did we
Okay. Well, I'll
Yeah,
share
go
this
ahead.
story. Well, of course, I moved to Huntsville, Alabama for college to go to Alabama A&M University.
Yeah.
And upon my junior year of college, my roommate had a friend, and we were acquaintances, but she was staying with us for a while, and she would tell us she was going to get her eyebrows done and get her hair shaped up because Malcolm used to own a barber and hair salon. And so we would go in. She said, "Come on, guys." You know, back then we were young. We weren't thinking about, being our prim and
Yeah, yeah.
everything. So,
No great.
no, great. And I think I was 20 going into when I started going. And so we used to just kind of tease her because we said, "You always going into this hair salon," and she would talk about him. So we ended up going, long story short, we ended up going. About a year went past, and she ended up moving back home. But my friend and I kept going, my roommate. And then so Malcolm never really said much, but I just watched him and I observed him. And of course, he was doing the same thing, but he was always a gentleman. And I noticed that, it was a lot of females because it was a hair salon. And I
Right.
noticed that he never looked at them lustfully. He was just always mannerable, and he wore this tag that said
But
a button that said "Protect the Black woman."
love, respect,
Love, respect,
and
protect.
Oh,
protect.
nice. Love it. Love it.
And so I just always observed and I admired that from a distance, you know. And
Mhm.
then so I used to work at a fast food restaurant. And like I said, after a year passed, he came, we kind of had this barter system. If you would do my hair for me
Yeah,
for a
she was a
cheaper
broke college
rate,
student.
Oh yeah, I know about broke college. Yes, baby. I
so I was like, if
understand.
you would do my hair, if you can do my hair for less, then you can come through Popeyes and get some free chicken, right?
Oh, not the chicken box.
The chicken box
Yeah.
right down the street
What?
from me. And so he came one evening through the drive-through, and he just said, you know, I've always watched you and observed you, and I would like to get to know you better. And so it started from there.
Mhm.
He picked you.
Yeah.
What was it about her? What made you pick her as opposed to all the other women that were looking at you?
You know, of course, like we were young, you know, so I'm a year and a half older than her, but she swore up and down I was about 10 years older than her. I mean, because you know, I had a little bit
Yeah,
Were you
that
like an
age.
old soul kind of
I
person?
was,
it's how he
I
carried
was, I
himself.
was. I
Yeah,
opened
old
my hair
soul.
salon.
Gotcha.
I had just turned 20. I was 19 going on 20 when I
Oh
opened
wow.
my hair salon. So it was at the end of my freshman year. And so I guess for her, she's like, this guy is kind of in a career, you know, so he can't be like our age. But I actually was. So
Wow.
we actually started dating. She was 22, going on 22, and I was 20, going on 23. So um, I think she had it, to me, she had it together, you know,
Wait,
to me.
wow.
Mhm.
And the
And
reason why I
so
say
young, Nicole. That's
you know,
impressive.
yeah,
I like it.
yeah, college
Okay.
student, she had a dream. She's like, I want to graduate. This is what I want to do. Um, she just, to me, checked those boxes of, okay, I am sort of an old soul to be 22, and she seems like she's on par with me, you know, in terms of, you know,
Wow.
sometimes you might say, you know, people my age aren't acting my age, but
Mhm.
she did, you know, not to
Mhm.
say anyone else didn't. And then of course,
But
I
she
just
did.
stood out, Ella.
and then of
That's
course,
just all
look
to
at
it.
her,
You
you
know,
know.
I just stood out. He's not
You know,
saying it all
and
the
that's what I was
way.
about to say. Look at her. Yeah, she checked my boxes, you know.
Oh, I
She,
love it. I love it.
she
Well,
checked.
we want to help our audience tonight check some boxes too, because we're out here, especially the older ladies, the older men. You got all these dating apps now. Everything is just so different. I know that you guys do these love tips, relationship tips. What
Yes.
made you guys start doing that? Because that's what attracted me for this show tonight by seeing those.
Well, we're over family ministries at our church,
Hmm.
and that
Okay.
includes women's ministry, men's ministry, singles ministry, senior citizen ministry, and
Veterans.
veterans ministries. And so we do the couples portion. And so our team and I decided, you know, what can we do for the month of February? So we was like, okay, let's do a 28-day. And so we put together a daily challenge, daily things, activities that couples can do to connect or reconnect. And the purpose for that is because for us, when you've been married for a while, sometimes with life, either it's children, your
Mm,
job, trying to have that work-life balance, any extracurricular activities, you can just take each other for granted and just kind of become
mm.
disconnected and think, oh, I don't have to do this anymore. You know, we did this when we dated. And so we came up with the 28 daily activities. And so we said to get more people to follow us on our family ministry page, that was part of it. They had to like and follow our church family ministry page to get
Okay.
extra points, which that has really helped us. And so they get points. They don't have to post on Facebook if they choose, because some people are private. They can email them to me in our email. So I get those too, as well as those that post on Facebook. But those are just extra points. And at the end, the person who has the most points can win a romantic dinner. And we're also giving away weekly prizes for those who have shared stuff on Facebook. But you know, they do a little extra. It might be a video that how they do theirs. So
Right,
that
right.
was it for us to reconnect
Yeah.
as couples.
Because oftentimes, you know, people, especially when you've been together for a while, you don't realize that you are either disconnected or becoming disconnected until you try to connect. You know, it's almost like when you're on a cell phone call, if the two parties, you don't know if you're connected or disconnected, right? You know, it's not until you attempt at that communication piece that you realize either my phone has disconnected this person or my service has gone bad. And the same thing with our marriage. You know, we could be going along with our day-to-day activities connected, but we're in essence kind of disconnected. So this is really like what we really wanted to do is to really spark or awaken that, you know, fire to reconnect. Yeah.
Because you have to be intentional. I mean, even for us, 27 years, the daily activities, you know, you got to really be intentional about it. And sometimes, you know, like some of my friends that started, they've fallen off, unfortunately. And so for us as the leaders, we got to set the example too. So we've been intentional, and I can honestly say I've been loving it. And I posted on my personal Facebook page because for me, as a Christian couple, I want other couples to know that just because you've been married for a while or a Christian couple, that doesn't mean your marriage has to be boring. You know.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, because sometimes, as Christians, you know, we think, oh, you don't have to spice things up, or we got to be boring. But no. So
I'm glad you said that because we're going to get into some of that. We are going to get into some of that.
Some hot sauce on it, baby.
Yeah. So I posted a page for everybody to see that's married or even that's not married to say, hey, you know, they're doing this because I've been having people to inbox me, ask me questions about it, you know?
Yeah.
Wow. So, Brian, what about you and Alicia? Have you found that, I mean, you guys have been together 4 years. Have you experienced any of what Malcolm and Nichole were just talking about how you have to keep it, you have to be intentional? Have you found that to be true?
Absolutely. We both talk with each other about some of the things that we feel like we have to do in order to keep things together and keep moving forward. Because at the end of the day, as I've learned through the years, marriage is a choice. And, you know, we wake up every day, you know, I wake up every day and I've told her several times, you know, I still choose to be married to you. You know, it's not easy. Sometimes you do have to be intentional about some of the things that you do. And that's including things like going to bed together, you know, making sure that, you know, you are having that time once you all have gotten your household responsibilities and maybe even work responsibilities taken care of. You know, you go into the bedroom. Nothing has to happen in the bedroom, but that intimacy is definitely important, which can then lead to other things, of course. But you know, the main thing is the reconnection, talking to each other about any and everything, whether it be bills to, you know, hey, how was your day? What's the weather like tomorrow? Or what have you. Being very intentional about interacting with each other. Even if you're watching TV, you know, this is simple, maybe holding hands, things of that nature, and taking it old school, like eating dinner, eating actual dinner together at the dinner table. You know what I'm saying? Even doing stuff like, I know people don't really do that anymore, and maybe somebody's watching and asking like, what is he talking about? But yes, like back in the day, families used to come together at dinner time and eat dinner around the table, used to eat breakfast around the table. So we're intentional about doing that, and you know, just intentional with our plans, you know, whenever we want to have a date night, that type of thing.
We still do that too, Brian. We still do that, eat at the dinner table. Yeah. I love that.
Aww. Why is that so important, guys? Like, really? Hi, sis. How are you? Why is that so important that you spend that time together? No phones, just you two, right? I'm assuming that's what you're talking about.
That's the hard part, because we're all, well, I don't want to say we're all, I don't want to generalize everybody, but many of us, and I can admit myself and her to her admittance as well, you know, you can get a little addicted to social media and what's on your phone or what have you. You don't even have to turn on the TV anymore. You just pop up YouTube on your phone and watch what's going on. And so sometimes you have to be really, really intentional about reconnecting. because there's so many distractions coming at you in so many different ways that we didn't have growing up or didn't have coming up back in the 90s, early 2000s, maybe in the 80s. Like back then, you literally had to talk with one another.
Yeah.
The only distraction you might have had back in the day might have been the TV and maybe a video game system, back then. But it's just being very intentional about talking with one another and reconnecting, because I like to say myself, and then I'll stop talking because I feel like I'm talking too much. I can consider myself what they call that, like sapiosexual, where they talk about someone who's attracted to someone's intelligence or what have you. And my wife is extremely intelligent. You know what I'm saying? So I love hearing like her ideas and how she wants to decorate the house, or things of that nature. And I'm really attractive to her when she starts talking that way. So I love, and it's hard to just want to put that phone down. Like, I want to know what's going on Facebook. And
Yeah.
that FOMO.
That's why I'm not married. There it is right there. That's it. That's why I can't find a husband. I'm too busy talking to scam artists.
They are there.
That's the real thing, guys.
You say a scam artist, like
scammers that aren't real, like they're from another country pretending to be in this one. Yes. So there it is right there. Yeah. Okay. So Stephanie says she loved you guys' love story. Did you guys want to address her?
Stephanie. Home girl.
Yeah. You guys really do have a good love story. I love what you're doing. So let's jump right into some of these tips, because I'm sure everyone that's watching wants to know. Okay, because I want to deal with certain things, but I want to hear a few of the tips that you guys have done already that we can address. Give me one.
Okay, well, let me just say this. It started the first week in February. So I wanted people to ease into just getting adjusted. So it was simple things at the beginning, like, of course, pray with your spouse was day one. And that should be every day. And then let's say another day was, what did we do?
Text.
Well, we did plan a date night, but I got that kind of more so towards the end of the week. So last week was expressions of love, but this week is intimacy. It's focusing on intimacy. And so like yesterday was send a text, sexy text message of yourself to your spouse, or picture. I'm sorry.
The day before was a video, like expressing your love.
Yeah. And so with this picture, I said, if it's scandalous, you get extra 5 points.
Now they don't show the scandalous.
They don't show the scandalous. I told them for the intimacy week, just do 3 fire emojis. And so also included make love to your spouse. So this week has been like 3 to 4 times a week.
Okay, wait a minute. 3 to 4 times. Okay, wait a minute. Let's clarify here on the Ella Johnson Show. I like clarity. It's what I do. You mean you've been giving it up 3 to 4 times this week?
Yes, that was.
Girl, I gotta give you high five on that. That's what I'm talking about. Yes.
Well, I mean, it's different strokes for different folks.
Right?
But the purpose was, again, it's intimacy week. Yeah. But there's a difference between intimacy and sex. So that's some daily things for that too. But sex is on the table this week for all the couples that are participating, if they decide to do it.
Because she's been giving up intimacy 7 days a week. And then the other part is sprinkled in there, So, yeah.
Because one day.
No wonder you guys coming. No wonder you guys are cheesing when y'all came on here. I don't know. You might have just done it. I'm just saying.
That was this morning. Ella, don't get me started.
Yeah,
don't get me started. He's more private.
I'm very private. Yeah.
No.
This chick, boy, she's all in this 28 days. I'm more like, okay.
I love it though. You know what? This is what marriage is supposed to look like. This is what God put together. And this is a very good example. And when people want this, they're willing to just settle because they think they have it. It's almost like the jigsaw puzzle story that I gave a time back where we're trying to take from another box. Like, in other words, let me give you guys a brief thing. Like, your life is like one big jigsaw puzzle, and you open the box, it's a mess, but all the pieces fit. No matter what it looks like, they all fit. And I gave the example of how sometimes we like to take from another box thinking we're going to get the same picture. This is the picture people want, but you got to wait for it, because whatever it is that God has for you is in the box. So you got to keep with your own box, because everybody wants this. So I love how open you guys are. We're not going to go in detail about that because I could go there, but I love how you're open about, right? She knows. Okay. But I like it because people that are married need to see that, yes, married couples, Christian married couples, do have sex. They need to be intimate. You need to hold hands. You need to share those private moments that only you guys can laugh about, the text messages and stuff. That's what I'm talking about. So I love that. I love it. I know you have something to say, Brian. Jump in,
Couples
Brian.
like
I know
that
you.
probably never read the book of Song of Solomon. So there's a lot of that going on, and a lot of pastors kind of skip over that book and preach over the other 65 books of the Bible, if I'm not mistaken. That's very, very important, and unfortunately, to the detriment of marital couples, that type of topic is not really expressed in church. You know what I'm saying? Or God knows, for whatever reason, I think it's still somewhat taboo that you don't talk about that in church or what have you, which you should, because if married couples, in the marriage ministry, and you're having a marriage get together at church, and you should be talking about that, because that's one of the that's one of the gifts that God gave us to help keep a marriage together. And let's be honest, you can be mad at your spouse one day, but one good session, well, you forget about what you was even mad at the next time around. You know what I'm saying? So, so that it's one method to help keep us all together and happy and satisfied, and and keep it moving.
Okay, guys, look at what Stephanie just wrote. Okay, she's a minister, so I'm sure she's counseled people. On the real, a lot of married couples are not having sex.
On the real.
Or I mean, to be honest, once a week. And I know some females that said twice. That's a lot for them. So, but I will say this. I believe that what works for one couple may not work for another couple. And I've always, when we minister with couples, you both have to be on one accord with what that looks like for you. So if once a week, if both parties, spouses are okay with it, then once a week. But if there's an issue with it, then that's something that you need to talk about.
And how do you know when there's an issue? When one cheats?
Well, that's automatic then. But
it's a long list. And, we tell people, sometimes there's a biological issue that definitely needs to be discussed.
Yes.
And oftentimes we look at the biological issue just for the male, but women have biological issues that impede sex.
Menopause.
That impede sexual activity. So if we put that to the side and everybody's good health-wise, then there needs to be some additional exercises and, even some outside help from some solid Christian counselors that can help us understand, okay, why are we not connecting? Why do you not want to have sex with your husband, or why do you not want to have sex with your wife? And then agree on how much is good for each other. And that's usually the hurdle that some of us don't want to jump.
And then also to add to that as well, early on in our marriage, before kids, of course, yes. And then when kids come into play, that can be another factor that can, you can become disconnected because you're dealing with the kids, you're dealing with chores, cooking. And so sometimes women would get tired because we're multitasking.
Yes.
Those things can play a part. But even in that, that's where as a couple, you have to talk about, okay, we're disconnecting. Even though we have younger kids, what do we need to do? Do we need to pencil this in? Whatever works for you, do it to stay connected. But then, like our kids, we have young adults now, so we don't have to worry about juggling, cleaning and looking after them as much, So sex life picks back up, and so it's just different
Hopefully.
things. Yeah, hopefully, but it's just different things that can play a factor. But the key is to do what works for you all. And again, if that's once a week, that y'all both are good with it, yes. Is that good for us? No. So we have to do what works for us.
I like that. And I mean, I think it's good that you have to have open dialogue with your spouse too. You can't be ashamed or embarrassed, or you're trying to compare yourself to the social media women. Like, oh, I need to have a big butt. Honey, do you think my butt is big? Do you think that, I mean, is that something that you guys see in your ministry, that women start feeling less attractive, and that's why they're comparing themselves to what the world says is sexy and beautiful? Like, could that be a factor as well sometimes?
Well, so to answer your question, I'll be 52 this year. So, of course, I've had two children. My body has changed. As we get older, our body changes. But
Yes.
again, we've been married going on 27 years. So I have to have that mentality that there's someone that looks younger, that, bottom may be tighter than mine or things like that. So, and then I feel like my husband has always, I'm secure within my own skin because I'm a child of God, first of all. But
Amen.
my husband, he makes me feel special too by telling me,
Aw.
you look beautiful. Yeah, you've had two kids, but you look good anyway. So I
But he's
think
not
that
lying though, Nicole. You really do look beautiful. I mean, he's not lying.
I appreciate that. But
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just saying, I know that over time, those things on the outside will change. And
Right.
having a spouse that understands that, because that takes maturity to me to know that our bodies are going to change, but someone that loves you through that, whether you pick up weight here, you pick up weight there. But for some women, to me, if you're not in a solid relationship where you're comfortable in your own skin, because again, we're children of God, but the spouse is not helping you in that area, then you can have some doubts and feel not comfortable in your skin.
So let's talk to the people, and I want both of you guys to join in on this. You got some people out here that are watching this broadcast who are single. You're talking to one now, the host, right? Went
Yeah.
through a divorce, years and years. It's been like 12, it's been like 13 years that I was divorced. Nothing serious after that. You're over that 50 range. What should dating look like for us single people? Because I know we got to move a little differently than the 17 and 18-year-olds. So what should it look like for people that are over 50 or 60 for that matter?
I think the gender aspect, we look at those things differently, but I do have a lot of concern, and I would say, I don't want to say empathy, because there's nothing sad about it for women who are single, because sometimes you feel like you need to be actively dating to be relevant in that space. And I'm not saying all, just some, but when women get in the attitude of, you know what, I'll date myself. I don't know if you've done that before, Ella. Taking Ella out of,
Yes, absolutely. All the time.
there's
Yes.
something that's a magnet to that.
Yeah.
When you are out on your own and you're having a good time with you, you know, there's men married and single that look and say, hey, that lady is having a pretty good time with herself. And I think and I'm speaking to the single space and dating, when you begin to say, you know what, I'm gonna love on me real good, there's something that begins to happen inside of the woman that is a magnet, not only to her girlfriends and the people around her, but the people that she doesn't even know. And I really do believe that. And I think it's a constitutional shift that a woman has to make, to say, you know what, this is what I'm going to do today. Just like with you and your show, what you have endeavored to do, author, motivator, humanitarian. I mean, these are some things that you want to take those hats and put them in the closet sometime, right? Because you get
And
tired,
just,
you get
yeah, it's
frustrated
true.
sometimes.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just need a break. But
Yeah.
because you elected to do this and you say, you know what, I'm doing it today, tomorrow, next week, and continue to do that.
Right.
Well, and I look at it like this though. When I speak with our singles ministry leader,
Mhm.
she she's trying to change the narrative of singles ministry, because oftentimes people think that it's just about getting a man or a woman. And what they're trying to, their mission is to say, okay, we may have some people in this group that are actively looking, but there are also some of us who, as a community, we want to just do things together. And when God blesses us with that person, then yes, of course. So, and I mean, singles that are listening now, okay, so yeah, I've been married going on 27 years. And so some may say, well, they don't understand because they've been married. They've been out of the game for 27 years, But for me as a woman, I can only speak about that. My thing is when it, Lord forbids that I have to get out in the dating game again. But my thing is like what my husband said, dating ourselves and really being grounded in having that relationship with Christ to say,
Yeah.
Lord, I'm going to wait on you to send me
Yes.
who is for me.
Yes.
Because when we go to pick, to me, in our humanness, we're going to pick the wrong one.
Scammers.
The scammers, right? Sometimes. So yeah. But when we allow God to keep our eyes on
Yeah.
him, and
Right.
I have to come from this standpoint because, like I said, I believe in God and I'm a Christian. And Lord forbids if I have to get out there in the dating game again, have to find that where God is going to guide me to that person or that person to me. So in the meantime, what I'm going to do is make sure I'm still being me by traveling to buy. And when that person comes along, they have to come along and beside me and be the person that the man that God has ordained them to be, not someone that's half stepping in that area, that Christian walk. Because like you said, at the age of 52, 53, we're past those games of playing with a younger man or, but let me say, well, what I'm saying is,
We ain't gonna knock the younger man thing now. I'm just saying,
not
Nicole,
saying the cougar,
to
not saying
God to be the glory.
but meaning those younger games that when we were
Right.
younger, we would play. So mainly just waiting on God to send us that person that he will want. And just being content where we are, like Paul said, the apostle Paul said, being content in all things in those seasons where we are waiting on God to answer our prayers. And I think that's single people because we want it right now. And when
That's
it doesn't, and married, we want things right now. And when it doesn't happen, we get impatient and then we choose the wrong one.
Yes, absolutely. I want to talk about what Stephanie just said because this is something that I think is so profound, especially for us single people. She says, "I do desire to be married, but I love my single life. I'm focused on doing kingdom work, and at the right time, God will bring him forth. I must stay focused on him." How important is that to single people? Because I think that when you start, and I love that comment, Stephanie. Thank you. I think that when you focus on him, because there's a scripture, and I know you guys are gonna share that with us, that says when you focus on him, he'll take care of all the stuff in your life that you're all your wants and needs, right?
Well, yeah, like one scripture that you can use is when we keep our mind stayed on him,
Yeah.
God will keep us in perfect peace. So,
Yeah.
Satan distracts, Satan confuses, Satan makes us worry. He brings in those things that try to block it blocks our view. But when we keep our minds stayed on God, he puts us in that perfect peace mode to say, you know what? And you even talked about being content, what Paul talks about in Philippians. So when we say, you know what, I'm gonna work at being content, lose the mode for being distracted, then it causes us to make that shift and to be comfortable. Yeah.
I appreciate that. Brian, did you want to add anything to that about just staying focused and then allowing that time? Because patience is a virtue when you are single. It really is.
When you're
And
married,
the more you, when you're married too, that's right. But when you're single, it's tough because there are moments where you could be vulnerable and you could give in to stuff that you shouldn't be. And the reason I like doing these kind of shows because I too am transparent about stuff that I've done. And I think that sometimes when you do things out of the will of God, it will limit and it will make you wait longer. It's like, okay, so you were over here dealing with stuff you had no business dealing with, that was not your man, that was not your life that I designed for you. So you stay over there, and when you're tired, when you keep bumping your head,
Yeah.
realize that you're going to have to come back to me. And I think that that's where a lot of people are. They realize, okay, God, I've had all this stuff. I'm actually mad at the devil because he lied to me, right? I'm actually mad because I thought that this fine man, I was like, there was a day, but I'm so glad now because the peace of God will take over, and you won't know, you won't even think about a man. I don't focus on that. I really don't. My motto is, I am married. I'm not on a mission to be married, but I am married to my mission.
Yeah.
Right? That's where I am right now. Real talk. So I want to talk about something. No, go ahead.
I think, and I heard what you said, but I think there's some frustration in us when we feel weak, right?
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah, and we feel
Definitely.
like we're less than. But here's the thing,
Yeah.
even the Bible tells us when we are weak, that's when God is made strong. And I think what we have to do is understand our weakness, right? Understand those trigger points, understand where we are, and that really we can find our strength in God. So even like with what you're saying, Ella, I mean, you're human,
Oh yeah, I deal with stuff
I'm
and I
human,
move on. I don't hold on to it. I let it go.
and
Y'all
we're
not, yeah, exactly. Thank you, Stephanie. That's a good point. She says singles must have accountability partners.
yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. I never thought about it like that. Find somebody else that's single that's trying to be out here doing it the right way. But I just focus on the word, doing what God has me doing, and I know in the middle of all of that's going to come. So
It will.
let's talk about unrealistic expectations and rushing into marriage, because there are people right now that are single that are saying, "Okay, I think we're ready." What must a couple do, a single couple, do to know when it's time? Should they counsel? Should they get financial counseling? Like, what kinds of things should they do before they actually get married?
Oh, I do believe in getting premarital counseling.
Definitely.
Okay.
You know, and in premarital counseling, those questions that you just posed about finances, even dealing with family members, in-laws, all of those things should be posed in that premarital counseling, because when you're dating and you're, especially depending on your age, everything is just butterflies. You don't see everything, you don't see the big picture. And then once you get into it and you realize this is not just a fairy tale wedding, it's like a smack in the face. And so being prepared and trying to be able to deal with it. I mean, because really marriage it's not about having those butterflies anymore. I mean, there are days when you just both are sick of each other, or you have some tough trials and tribulations, and it's how you're going to deal with them and get through. And so sometimes couples, and I know as a female, I was like, oh, I'm gonna get married, we're gonna get married, I'm gonna cook for him every day, oh, I'm
Ooh,
gonna do this. And honey, when you be like, wait a
is
minute.
that a criteria? Because I'm gonna fail at that too.
It wasn't me. It wasn't me.
No, it
I was
wasn't.
willing to take it.
Yeah, but I'm just saying those things that we create in our minds, that
Right.
how we're going to
Yeah.
be this fairy tale wife, the
Yeah.
expectations we can put on ourselves, but then in reality, it doesn't always work like that. And so
Right.
really couples should get that premarital counseling where someone is going to give them the truth about marriage, which marriage is beautiful and it can be, but it takes time to get there. It takes time to get there.
Mm-hmm. And in that premarital counseling, oftentimes a good therapist will have some assessments. And I know some people are like, I don't know about that. But those self-assessments really, really work, because when you do a temperament test, when you figure out your love language, all these types of things that what we call psychometrics, where we answer some questions and then it gives us an output. You can know beforehand almost how you're going to be. Maybe not totally, but you'll know.
A picture, at least.
Even as something as simple as learning your love language. You kind of already know, hey, I'm a gifts person. The person I'm
Is
marrying,
it Yeah.
You know,
Is it possible to get in? And I want you to chime in too, Brian. Is it possible to get in that premarital counseling and decide, you know what? Oh no, this ain't for me.
it is.
You know
Yes.
what? Since you put it like that, oh no, I'm not ready for this baby because he has bad credit, and I've been working on my credit, and I'm not trying to go there. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm being comical
Yeah.
about it, but this is real because you may be unequal, not just
That's
in
right.
Christ-like things, but you could be like, okay, he doesn't have a good job history. He has a criminal record, so it's going to be hard for him to get a job. You know, and and it, you know, I'm just saying, those are the kind of things that I think you find out before you get committed. Because once you get committed, it's like you just feel like you got to go on through with it. So
I
what
know,
happens?
I know Brian
Yeah.
has, but I
Yeah.
say this one thing, Brian. But that's the
Yeah.
essence of premarital counseling. You know, oftentimes we think about premarital counseling as to usher in the marriage, but premarital counseling should be this: to lead you to the best choice for yourself,
Okay.
right?
Which is
So
yes or no.
yeah,
Yeah.
thank you.
Right.
So at
Okay.
the end of that counseling piece, I should know if she is potentially the one enough to marry, and vice versa. Go ahead, Brian.
Yeah. You know, a couple of things, and Malcolm brought up some points I wanted to piggyback on. Also, one thing is, you know, I like the way that society is working right now is that people really are just having pre-wedding counseling. People are meaning that people are so focused on their wedding day, they're forgetting
And not
about,
the
you know,
marriage.
preparing for the marriage, you
Mhm.
know,
See?
and
Yes.
and it's unfortunate because you hear so much, oh, I want this for the wedding, I want this decorated, these colors, these people got to get invited, this will be having for dinner, and there's nothing talking about where they're going to live, that they're going to live under. You know, are they going to share bank accounts, or are they going to keep their bank accounts separate, or are they going to have
Yeah.
a combined bank account or separate accounts? You know, so money definitely has to be discussed. You know, and you definitely have to know. Piggyback on something Malcolm had said earlier, you definitely have to understand each other's. Number one, you have to understand your own love language first.
Right.
So you have to understand how you want to be loved. Therefore, you can teach your spouse how to love you. And then on top of that, you have to understand your spouse's love language. And I find that a lot of people are not connecting
Right.
that way. And you know, and sometimes there's like a mishap, you know, because let's say like you have one person whose love language is giving gifts, but the other person doesn't like to get gifts. I don't know. Nobody doesn't like to get gifts, but I'm just
I
saying,
like
just
cash.
hypothetically
Thank
speaking,
you.
hypothetically speaking, you know, that person who doesn't like to get gifts has to understand that their
Yeah.
spouse that they're with who love to give gifts, that's their love language. You know,
Right.
so
Right.
you know, it's an adjustment period, learning how each other loves to show love and how each other wants to receive love on top of that. And not just having premarital counseling, but definitely continue to get counseling even when your wife and I talk about it all the time. Like, yeah, let's go to counseling so that we can, have like a, like a car. Like a car needs to go to a mechanic. You
Yeah.
know, a marriage needs to go to a marriage counselor to make sure everything's in tune and work in order, and make sure
Oh, I like
everybody's
that
communicating.
analogy. That's good.
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
Brian, when you brought up about the love languages, that book, that is a good book for all couples. I mean, Gary Chapman has made books for love languages for kids,
Everything.
teachers, everything. But the love, when you truly understand what your love language is and your spouse's, then you can speak their love language, and that you're not trying to love them how you want to be loved. Because
Mhm.
like you said, Brian, I may not, Malcolm's is physical touch and quality time. I didn't grow up in a
Yeah.
family where we hugged and touched. He
Right.
did.
That's
So
true.
for me, that took me, I had to be very intentional about hugging and touching with him. And over the years, now it's just natural. But it was grace on his part because he knew it wasn't that I didn't want to do it. I just had to really think about and
Right.
for him,
Right.
and vice versa. One of my love languages are gifts, and he did not like spending money on certain You know, I'm just saying, you know, you got a
No,
spender,
she
you
put
got a
you out
saver.
there, Malcolm. She put
They're
you
gonna have
out
to
there,
be
my
wiser.
friend.
No, you have a spender and you have a saver. That's all I'm saying. But
I
you know,
love it.
early in our marriage, we learned that, and that was like the first 6, 7 years. Like we wish we would have had that book a long time ago, because
Right.
you're loving. Sometimes you try to love someone how you want to be loved, but that's not their love language. And so you have to love people to fill up their love tank, how they choose, how they want to be loved.
Now I
And
wanted to go to
patience. Patience. I believe Malcolm on the call. I
yes.
can't remember which one of y'all brought it up earlier, but patience definitely is a must to have in any relationship. Because let's say like if there's a lack of patience in relationships. We live in a right now microwave society. I want what I want right now, and the other person may not be willing, to do that right now. In anything. So that's another thing. People need to learn how to have patience
Right.
and take time. Not granted. On the flip side, people do need to learn how to speed things up a little bit because sometimes patience can take a little bit too long.
Yeah.
But patience is definitely a virtue one must have when being in a relationship. And I guess the best analogy would be to use. I know a lot of wives have a problem in marriage when they ask their husband to do something, and a husband has to learn. And for any guy that wants to be married, listen, usually when your wife asks you to do something, she usually wants it done, at least, if not right then and there, at least within the next 5 minutes.
Yes.
But, to a man,
Okay.
and when a woman asks her husband to do something, he's like, okay, but in his mind, he's thinking, I'll get to it when I get to it. That could be after the game is over, or
Ooh.
after I'm, done chilling real quick. So, that's another thing.
I want to show you guys. I want to show you guys something. Makeup by Chrissy J. She was following up with what Nicole said. She said, I can relate. I love a gift. All right, men, I want y'all to watch something. Because whether your woman is telling you she wants it or not, you see it. They're telling you right here on the Ella Johnson Show. Makeup by Chrissy says, I can relate. I love a gift. That's followed up with Amanda. She says, me too.
Yeah.
This is the Me Too thing going on here.
And that's a
Right,
genetic.
guys? Yeah.
But
So,
but the thing is, though, that goes back again to our love language. And now, what I will say about Malcolm, if I tell him something that I want, I've learned to give him that time to get it wrapped around in his head and to be able to do it the right way, save or budget for it, right? And so that's
amen.
what
That's
I've
good.
learned to do, because even
Yeah.
with that being my love language, it doesn't always mean that my gifts are expensive. If that's your love language, it's just somebody surprising you, even if it's a flower, a card, So, but he's good about doing that. I just have to, if it's something that's going to cost more than
But then
That he has to take a loan for, yeah, you might need to wait.
not alone.
Well, I put on a little Luther for it. If this world were mine.
Oh, what? That may give you some time, buy you some time,
Yeah.
right, Malcolm?
Yeah, so
I
you know,
feel you.
because that's the
Luther works
song.
now. I'm
I
telling
would
you.
give you a whole bunch of things if this world were mine.
Oh yeah, Luther works. The old Keith Sweat works too. So
I know.
just so what? Listen. All right.
But one thing that Brian did say about people are getting pre-wedding counseling
Yeah,
instead
that's a
of
good
premarital
point.
counseling. There's
Yeah.
one thing side of it. Like we get so focused on the wedding day, right? You got to understand this. Instead of like being so focused in on the wedding day,
Uh-oh.
let's see what happened. Are we back? Was that us?
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
So just say all of that again. It was good.
Yeah.
Say it
Like
again.
what Brian was saying about there's pre-wedding counseling. So what I was saying, just to shorten it up just a little bit more, instead of having that tunnel vision on the wedding date, right? We're looking at the wedding day. We need to also see the warning signs, right? Because you get your warning signs,
But
you don't want to have that
ignore
tunnel
it.
vision for the wedding day.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Like he cheated the night before
Ooh.
the day you guys gonna get married. That leads me
Oh,
into
he's been doing it.
infidelity.
Yeah,
Or he's been
yeah,
doing it.
yeah.
What?
But you're like, if you get
Ooh.
married, he may stop.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's talk about infidelity. This is a big one.
Mhm.
Me personally, I'm just gonna be honest, Christian or not, I just don't know how to deal with infidelity. So help us, Malcolm, Nicole, and Brian, us single people out here, understand that infidelity may happen in a marriage, that it can happen.
Mhm.
We're two different people. We think differently. What and it's hard to answer this, I know, because you can't tell people what to do in their marriage. So just lead them into it as from a Christian perspective when someone cheats.
You know, from a Christian's
In terms
perspective.
of
Oh, go
how
ahead.
to deal with it, or I mean, when it happens, or how to like avoid it.
Like how do you respond to it? I mean, I know you're not going to go and slap them and knock the taste out of their mouth. I know you're not going to do that.
You saying
You
you
might
hope they
want
don't-
to.
Yeah. Okay.
I hope right.
You hope
So
they-
I'm saying, because I mean, my initial reaction is to, like gut punch you, kick you in the throat, cut you, slash your tires, things like that. Not saying I've been there, just saying that that can be your first reaction. But as a Christian, I know we have to do things in love and all that, but we're also human. So how would we, from a biblical perspective, handle infidelity in the marriage?
Can I
I want both
answer
of you to
that?
jump. Yeah, you can answer.
Yeah,
I want both of you guys to answer this one.
I will say this. I would take time, of course, to process it first.
Right.
You know, and again, as the Bible does state, it's okay to be angry, but don't act out on your anger, because there will, you can do something that you cannot take back. Process it, and eventually, you have to come to a point where you're going to have to forgive that person
Right.
for
Of
it.
course.
However,
Yeah.
that does not mean you have to stay with that person.
Mhm.
So that's the other thing. So you have to make a choice. You can forgive and fix the marriage if you like to, or you can still forgive and decide, you know what, I think it's just best for us to go our separate ways, because for a marriage, to a lot of people, that is the ultimate form of betrayal. I often think of the first Best Man movie, the relationship between Lance and Mia, and her reaction to I'm sure everybody's seen the movie by now, so hopefully it's not a spoiler. The movie is only like 30 years old, but just in case you haven't, spoiler alert. Mia's response to Lance was cheating on him with Harper. She had finally reached her breaking point where she had had enough. In that case, Lance was a repeat offender or what have you, but he couldn't take it. So, but he still, when he found out that she had cheated on him with his best man, he still chose they still chose to marry each other. And sometimes you have to take time in order to process everything, because I can't imagine you're standing there on your wedding day and you just found out, like,
Yeah.
your wife has been sleeping with your best man, and you had those images in your head. And unfortunately, it's something that has to process. And please don't get mad at me when I say this, but I think the way that society has made it is that women have had to deal with it better than a lot of men do, if that makes any sense. Whereas a woman may forgive a husband for cheating, but men, for whatever, have this thing where, oh, nah, she done cheated on me, I'm out. You know what I'm saying? So I think a woman is more, the way that it's been deemed is that a woman is more likely to forgive or what have you. And men, on the other hand, it's a what do you call that?
Non-negotiable.
Right, or a contradiction. Really, that's it's okay for them to go
So
out
Brian,
and
am
do
I
it.
hearing you say that? So it's okay. So in other words, would I be wrong if I found out my husband cheated? Okay.
Mm.
And then I went out and cheated. Are we even, or is that childish? Tit for tat. Oh, so you want to go and do it? Okay, so I'm gonna do it, and we're even. We can get. I'm gonna be honest with you, and this is gonna sound so crazy, but it's real because I'm
Yeah,
probably
it
not
is
the only
real.
one who thinks this way. It's
Mhm.
almost like I could get over it easier because I got it too. And now we're both equally mad. You can't judge me, I can't judge you. We both did it. But me, the L I am now, I would just leave. Because I don't want to risk my soul being damaged just because I'm trying to get back at it. I wouldn't even enjoy the sex anyway
Right.
because it's
Well,
not love, it's just revenge. Yeah.
I wouldn't necessarily call it childish. I would just kind of call it, your particular natural reaction.
Right.
I wouldn't recommend it, personally
Yeah, I know it's not in the
speaking.
Bible
Because,
anywhere, I'm sure. I'm
yeah,
sure
I
it ain't
definitely
nowhere
wouldn't.
in Matthew, John, Luke, or nowhere. I'm sure it's not in there.
Because when people cheat, I think what we
Yeah,
don't realize there are consequences whether you like it or
absolutely.
not for your cheating. You know what I'm
Absolutely.
saying? And
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
thing is, of course, you can have a child out of wedlock. That's one particular thing, and then who knows? God forbid it happens to anybody else, but you can come home with an STD, and you give it to your spouse or what have you. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
it's really not worth it, for me cheating. I'd rather, in case there's, issue I'm having with my wife, I'd rather talk with her first, rather than to go out there and, cheat because it's just not worth it, especially no offense to anybody else out there, but there's really for a lot of single people, go ahead and stay single as long as you can until you find that right person. Because there's really not a lot of, you really have to find and look hard to really find somebody of virtue these days. It's not as easy to find to me back in the day, even with the dating apps or what have you. So,
Yeah.
Okay.
And to continue the conversation, there's no excuse for cheating. Oftentimes the cheater has an excuse. Then if you clap back and cheat, that's your excuse. But
Hmm.
there's no excuse for cheating. And if you want to go biblical, it makes it even harder, Ella, because on the biblical side of things, even the woman who was caught in adultery, when Jesus asked her, "Where are your accusers?" They were gone. And
Wow.
he basically told her,
Okay.
go and sin no more. He didn't say, your husband shouldn't be with you anymore. I hope you never marry again if he chooses to leave you. No, he just said, get yourself together and stay together.
Yeah.
Right. And so it's one of those things, like, human forgiveness doesn't compare to godly forgiveness.
Ooh,
Yeah.
that's
And,
right.
and I mean,
That's good. Let's marinate on that. That was good what you just said. Say that again.
that was
Because
good.
that
Yeah.
was real. Yeah, that
human
was good.
forgiveness
Say that
doesn't
again.
compare to godly forgiveness, because, like, God has told us, when he forgives us, it's forgotten.
Hmm.
It's dropped in the depths of the sea. But with we as humans, like what Brian said, standing at the altar, like you were saying, you thinking about it, you got all this kind of stuff in your head. You know what I got? You know what that husband or wife then has to do? Forgive all over again. So for us, because it's brought back up in our mind, for us, we got to continue to do it so that we can stay sane, keep working this thing out, because we just don't forget those scars, and we want to do something about it. But when you put the biblical piece in there, that makes it real hard, from the human side of things. I mean, do you know the court system has something that they call crimes of passion?
I've heard of
Yeah.
that.
I've
Yeah.
heard of
So
that.
if you catch your spouse cheating and you kill your spouse and the person they're cheating with, or just one, you can almost get off, because there's what they call a crime
No,
of
it's not
passion.
worth that. No,
Well, what
it's
I'm
not worth
saying is,
that.
from a human
Yeah.
perspective, we have made that just that egregious, where if a life
Yeah.
is lost, even the court system said, "Look, hey, we understand." You got what I'm saying? So,
Yeah.
but when you add the Bible side to it, there's got to be a forgiveness piece there that a lot of us can't even reach. I mean, it's just
Yeah.
one of It's tough.
So infidelity, yeah, that's a big one. There was another thing too
And
that I
remember,
was talking
infidelity,
about.
no excuse. There's no excuse for
Yeah.
infidelity.
There's no excuse
Yeah,
because
like,
we can talk about it.
he
Yeah.
travels too much, and
No,
I'm bored, or she does this, and I need a new this. There's no.
I got another excuse. He doesn't know how to do it. He's lost his touch.
Yes,
I don't
right.
enjoy it anymore. I
Yeah.
mean, what's real is ED. I mean,
Yeah.
that's real too. So those are real situations. And the reason I'm being so transparent about it is because these really are real situations. And a lot of people don't really know how to handle it. They're just like, they tell their girlfriends, we'll tell everybody but God, you know? And I love how you guys pray together every day. That is good. Do you guys pray together to start your day and end your day? I'm assuming. Yes.
Yeah, we've even turned the heat up on that prayer.
Yeah.
She has a
Oh,
reminder
wow.
on her phone, and we do a 2:00 prayer, and she's added another one, a 12:00 prayer. So like,
Really?
yeah, oh man. So she'll call me, or if we're together, hey, my phone went off. So yeah, we're trying to much prayer, much power.
Much power, because it's needed.
And this is why 27 years, yes? 27 years. This is what it looks like, guys.
Yeah.
Listen, we have so much more that we could have covered, but I just really wanted to come on here. Let me see what other kind of stuff I really wanted. Yeah.
And don't get it twisted, guys. Sometimes we look at people in their relationships and we're like, ooh, if I could have that. There's some scars.
Right.
I mean,
Of course.
we got
Of
some
course.
internal keloids that going on, but what we've chosen to do is like, you know what?
Work through and keep fighting.
Mm-hmm.
Keep fighting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I like what Stephanie says, guys. Look at this. Some men and women have cheated and their marriage became stronger. You have to pray and let God give you release to go or stay. I do think a marriage can survive infidelity. I do. Yeah. It takes maturity. You have to have maturity. You have to have a relationship with God. It's not something you could do in the natural, because you may wake up in the middle of the night like, you know what? I just thought about, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. It keeps coming back. You have to ask God to heal it. This isn't something you could do in the natural. And
this as well.
Says,
and that's why and also I want to add too, we're talking about prayer also too, but we have to die of self daily. I mean, and I think Brian said it earlier, it is a choice to stay in the fight, because it's so easy to want to say, I give up or call it a quits. I mean, it's easy to say that, but it's also, I always tell people, I believe marriage and raising children are two things that God gave us to keep us on our knees and keep our eyes on Him, because both of those take a human being to be selfless. You cannot be selfish and be in a marriage, or be selfish as a parent. And so we have to ask God, keep our eyes on God. And that way, when we stay focused on our relationship with Him, you won't have to worry about infidelity, because we're keeping our eyes on Him. And that's the key, and being able to work through whatever it is that comes your way.
And I want to also add, like, just be very intentional, in terms of the things that you do. Sometimes in order to, combat, stepping out on your spouse, you might have to schedule. It may sound like the most unsexiest thing in the world, but sometimes you might have to schedule sex. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Just to make sure, you have that time with that person. And then on the flip side, sometimes you can have the most perfect marriage and something can still happen where, people literally say, well, it just happened or what have you. So you can be caught off guard. That's why, you have to stay, prayed up, keep your focus on God, and, don't fall into those traps, because, like the Bible says, or like the saying says, the devil comes to seek, kill, and destroy, and he's not a fan of marriage, because, if you really think about it, if you have a strong marriage, you have a strong household. The strong household has a strong community. The strong community, then in turn, you have a strong nation. And I think that's part of the reason why this nation is so broken is because a lot of us are coming from broken homes.
That's
The
right.
marriages are not staying together.
Good point.
You know what I'm saying? So no one has an idea about what a healthy household looks like.
Right.
So I just wanted to add that, in terms of infidelity.
Yeah.
Well, this has been me, and I knew it would be. Listen, guys, real talk. Whenever I want to do a relationship show, I know where to go.
Come
I
on.
go to Malcolm and Nichole and Brian and Alicia. Alicia could be with us tonight, but these are my friends, and I love what they have to offer and what they bring to the table. We are going to get out of here. We're going to have to do a part 2, guys. We definitely have to do this again. But I want you guys, before we leave too, I want us to pray for couples.
Mhm.
And I want you guys to lead us in prayer. But I want you guys to share one last thing that you would like for the audience to leave with. Brian, I want you to speak to the singles, and I want Malcolm and Nichole to speak to the married. And then Malcolm, I want you to lead us in prayer. Okay, go ahead, Brian.
Okay, I'm gonna say something that I posted on one of my reels earlier, a few months back, and something that I talked with Ella about prior to the show. For those of y'all that desire to be married, the saying I give is this: find someone whose spirit you feel God specifically designed just for you. They don't have to be the best looking person in the world. Trust me, I have friends that have physical standards for that they want their significant other to have, and I'm just like, listen, the woman that you want, my brother, may not have the biggest assets. You know what I'm saying? She may, you want somebody who's like 36, 24, 48, and she might have measurements that are a lot smaller than that. And you passing her up because of,
Right.
because of different issues. So I always say for a single person, always look for somebody that's God's type, not your type, because he knows his type is better than yours, regardless of what classification or what have you may have. And I know for the stereotype, I mean, that's usually for a man, guys, aesthetically speaking, want a woman that's, stereotypically want a woman that's fat, and women usually want a man that's taller than them, maybe about over 6 feet tall. That guy you waiting for might be only 5'8", and but he's God's type. You know what I'm saying? No, I don't know if you're 5'8", Malcolm, or nothing.
No, I'm not.
But,
I'm not. I'm just a little bit taller than that.
Too funny.
but for real, for those women who like
Yeah.
their men over 6 feet tall or what have you, or wanting to make 7 figures, he might be only 5'10" and make 6 figures. You know what I'm saying? But at that point,
Six
it's
is good.
again.
6, I know 6 is good.
6 is good.
But the main thing is make sure you're a certain that's God's type, because
Right.
his type is better than yours.
Definitely.
Good advice. Malcolm and Nichole, I want you guys to speak to our married couples right now.
I would say to the married couples who are listening, I mean, whatever you may be going through at this time, marriages go through seasons. And if you can get through those seasons, but get through those seasons with God, asking him to guide you, and there are days where you may not like your spouse, but if you take divorce off the table, make it not an option,
Nice.
don't even think about it as being an option, then things can definitely change. But know that all marriages go through seasons, and if you stay in communication with God, praying together, calling on him, asking him to guide your marriage, you can get through those tough seasons. And don't worry about how somebody else's marriage look. You got to work through your stuff till you get to where you want to be and grow together as a couple.
Yeah. And for all
I
of
like
us,
it.
single, married, seek professional help, Christian counseling that's solid.
Nice.
On those moments when you need that.
So, guys, before we get out of here, I just would like to thank all of you so much for tuning into the Ella Johnson Show. I think that it is important for this show, this platform, to be one that honors God. So that's what we like to do here. And tonight it was about saving marriages. Tomorrow you will celebrate what the world calls Valentine's Day. We know that we have to show love every single day of the year, 365, but tomorrow is a day set aside for it. So we just want you to remember, that you have to love that man. You have to love that woman, honor the king in him, and, be a good support for your husband. I may not have one, but I've read some good books, right? So
Right.
before we get out of here, I want Malcolm to lead us in prayer so that we can pray not only for marriages, but just pray for our country as a whole.
Yeah.
All right, Malcolm.
All right, dear Lord, we just want to thank you so much for giving us this privilege to approach your throne in boldness, Lord, because you told us that we could do that. And Lord, there's a lot of things going on. There's people who are here, and there's some people who may look at the rebroadcast. And Lord, we're asking that you give us all a new and fresh relationship with you. Ella spoke that, tomorrow is Valentine's Day, but Lord, you made us the ultimate Valentine, because John 3:16 said, "Do you love the world so much that you gave
Yes.
yourself, your only begotten Son?" And Lord, we just want to thank you for that. And then, Lord, we just embrace that you love broken people like us, and you're willing to do whatever it takes for us to understand how much we're loved. So if no one else gets anything out of this, Lord, please all know that we're loved by you supremely. And because we're loved by you supremely, you want an eternity with us. So let us accept your free gift of salvation and embrace and have an eternity with you. Forgive us of our sins, cleanse us from all unrighteousness, Lord God, and please save us when you come. Then this is in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. All right,
Amen.
guys. Thank you all so much for tuning into the Ella Johnson Show. I don't know when I'll be back, but just stay tuned. We'll see you
All right.
next time. Have a great evening, everybody.
You too. Thank you.
Thank you so much for tuning in to the Ella Johnson Show. We'll see you next time.
We are supporters of the Ella Johnson Show. We live in South Korea. We have been watching Ella Johnson Show for like a year now. And we love her show. Her show is very inspirational, motivational, and educational.
If you would like to be a guest on the Ella Johnson Show, send an email to theellajohnsonshow@gmail.com or send a text message to 407-334-6997.
We love Ella Johnson Show.